Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the CBC Referees Online Training Program. Today is exactly day 8. We started last Monday, and today we are the final day of the first module. I must remind you uh, at the end of this module, you will be receiving information on the Quest online test, and it's just a knowledge test to gain where you are in the program. It's to look at areas that you need improving on and look at your strength areas so you can reach out to your colleagues for assistance in terms of who are strong in a particular area and how you can get better in that area. Tonight we will be covering day 2 of communications, led by Mr. Ian Yearwood and Alejandra Soto. I think her last name is.
Gaetan?
Pardon me?
Gaetan.
Ethan. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know
I know it might be hard to pronunciate. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Ah,
All right. I don't have your last name in front of me, but I was trying to remember what it was Ian said last night.
She'll give an introduction.
Like always, we do have all the recordings. Are making an effort to get the recordings from some of the different hosts and the presentations, and hopefully I can have that up on the website tonight. Once that is up, I will send a communication out to Ian and Mr. Brown so that they can forward the link to everyone where this information will be located. I'll just, at the end of the session, I'll try to put it in the chat so that you can at least start to familiarize yourself with it. With this, I now turn it over to you, Ian, and Miss Alejandra. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, as Patrick has said,
good evening.
We're continuing day 2 of the topic of communication, being shared tonight by myself and Alejandra. And before we actually begin, Alejandra has something for you, an exercise to get you going. So I'm going to turn right over to Alejandra.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to apologize for not being here yesterday. I assumed the new charge in my country doing as a referee manager in the league, so I'm having a lot of video conferences, and I apologize in advance because I will have to leave you guys in less than an hour, but I'm here because I really wanted to share with you. So what I'm going to share now is my screen. So, okay, you can come with me here. Hold on a second. I want you to get your phone, please, and open your camera and put it right here on this screen. And this screen is gonna take you somewhere, okay? So please go to the screen, put your camera, and it's gonna take you somewhere where you're going to find a question that we want you to answer because we want to know your opinion about something before we go on. So please let me know when you did that, please. me know how's it going. Are you there?
Hello, this is Mr. Alain.
Yes.
What are we doing? I missed what we're supposed to do.
Okay, you gotta open the camera on your phone, and then you're gonna put it right here on the screen. And when you do that, it's gonna take you somewhere to a link where you have to give an answer to the question that you're going to find there. Okay, for the ones who logged in with the phone, well, we will wait.
Paula Simpson here from Jamaica. I completed that question and submitted.
Good,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Brilliant question. Thanks to Mr. Ian's presentation yesterday, we were able to answer that.
Okay, I'm going to proceed, okay? Because what we're going to see now, it's all your answers. Are you guys there?
Yeah, we here.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I have 8 responses, and it says verbally, verbally and non-verbally, whistle, hand signals, words, saying something but confirming that it is what the receiver heard, by speaking and using hand actions, via mechanics such as hand signals and proper correct body language, and the proper and correct strong use of the whistle. Here it says communication in basketball is both verbal and non-verbal. Even the tone of your whistle communicates more than you think. I try to communicate with the above in mind. You communicate with the whistle, hands, and your voice, and you try to do so in a respectful manner to everybody on the court. So what I see here, it's something that I really like, because I find these responses, as you said, because I know what Ian presented yesterday. So I think that we all are in a good way. So we're gonna keep on going with this presentation. Ian, can you, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so you can share the screen of the presentation, okay?
No problem.
Okay.
I'm going to start to share my screen. And we are going to continue where we were from last night. But before we actually do, I just want to clear up something that we discussed last night. And that is, we were discussing the play of correcting a score as it appears, when it appears in the scorebook, and identifying if there is an error. So I just want to take you directly now. This is an extract from the scorebook, and this is Article 44.1, and it's the definition as it relates to correctable error. Officials may correct an error if a rule is inadvertently disregarded in the following situations: awarding a merited free throw or free throws, failing to award a merited free throw or free throws, erroneous awarding or canceling of points, permitting the wrong player to attempt free throws. Now, the next article that follows that, which is 44.2.1, to be correctable, the above mentioned errors must be recognized by the officials, commissioner, if present, or table official before the ball becomes live following the first dead ball after the game clock has started following the error. Just remember this. Article 44.2.3, any foul committed, point scored, time used, and additional activity which may have occurred before an error has occurred and before it's recognized shall remain valid. So we had a situation in one of the videos last night where a team scored at the wrong basket and it was then recognized by the official. As I pointed out last night, those points remain valid. So anything that would have happened up until this point remains valid. What I'm going to direct you now to is 44.2.7, an error in scorekeeping, timekeeping, or shot clock operations involving the score, the number of fouls, number of timeouts, game clock, and shot clock time consumed or omitted may be corrected by the officials. Notice this, at any time before the crew chief has signed the score sheet. So this is the part I want to clear up here. If you recognize that there is an error on the score sheet, or as it relates to timekeeping or shot clock operations, this can be corrected at any time before the crew chief signs the score sheet. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Thanks for your response. So we are going to, we had a couple coaches on last night, and a number of them spoke of perceived bias by referees. And we spoke also about the use of your whistles, the use of your voice, the use of body language, how body language can be very important, and the use of the official signals that FIBA has given to you. So we've got Fatima on right now, who's from Brazil. And Fatima's primary language is Portuguese. We've got Alejandra on from Mexico, and her primary language is Spanish. But the official signals are all standard. Can you mute your mics, please? Right? And we want to understand that tonight, what we're going to do is that we're going to look at how we can join all four of these modes of communication to make communication effective. So whether it makes us effective in listening, whether it makes us effective in dealing with or resolving conflict, we're going to learn how we can add these together, all four of these, to make us not an us against them as it relates to referees, coaches. Because remember, as we spoke about, as a referee, you're communicating to table officials, your fellow referees. You're also communicating to coaches, but also you're communicating to the spectators. So whether you have 2 spectators in your stand or 1 million spectators in your stand, you're communicating to everyone, right? So let's look at a short clip here of what the view of a coach as he relates his experience, and other coaches as they relate their experiences with coaches.
Mus is a magician with the refs.
Hey, David. How are you?
It's like a game within the game.
I'm glad you're mic'd.
Yes,
he's the best I've seen. I've been around some great coaches. He's the best at getting right to the line and stopping.
No! Mike, help him! Help him!
I would be guessing. I'd be guessing.
All right, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing the video.
You know, everything you do with your players, with media, with referees, there's got to be a purpose behind everything.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Doing it again! That's how he got hit!
But then it really gets down to, hey, they're human beings, and they want to be treated a certain way, and they want to be talked to a certain way as well.
You have one job. Your job is to win that game. And this referee, they have a view of what's going on in the game, and it's different than yours, because your view is all you care about is winning. All he cares about is trying to get the calls right for both teams.
No, Mike!
I think all of us as grown adults don't want to be disrespected in the workplace. At times he'll run around and, you know, throw his hands at the crowd, but he doesn't go to a ref and throw his hands and do all this in front of them.
How are you?
Good luck tonight. I'm doing fine. How about you?
Good, thank you. Hey, Michael. How are you? Good to see you.
The refs have reffed enough games, and I've seen my dad coach enough games where they know he's not an easy person to deal with once the time is ticking.
Mike! Mike! Mike, we're not even trying to guard him! We're not even trying to guard the guy!
I got a great learning lesson early on in my career. I was working for the Orlando Magic, and I was complaining all game about the referees. I was sitting behind the bench. Right in front of me was Coach Chuck Daly. After the game, he told me the next day he wanted me to chart every call that the referees made, and then he wanted me to tell him what percentage they got right. And it was about 99% of the calls that they made were right. And then he said, quit chirping behind the bench.
He's smart enough to know who he is, and he's smart enough to admit when he's wrong. You know, yeah, I might have missed that call. You know, you were right on that one.
Greg, watch Watson push off.
You know what can help us?
What, me shutting up?
No. He gets up into him, plays good defense, and takes the push and goes to the floor.
Okay. My dad's lesson that he told me was, if you are constantly complaining or barking, it falls on deaf ears.
He never shot it! He never shot the ball! He never shot it!
And my dad felt like you could one time really make a stand, but you had to make sure that you were 100% right on a missed call.
That was wrong. He got bumped on the drive. On the drive.
And so I learned all these lessons from guys, and as I've gotten older, I certainly feel like my reputation with referees is much better than it was maybe when I was younger.
I'm going to be normal.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, but they'll only use what's
Oh, got it. I was hoping they'd use everything.
No.
He's going to joke around with them all the way up to tip, and he truly means all that. It's not fake, you know, to help him in the game.
He hit him with two hands. He got pushed.
But between those lines, it's all business, and, you know, what's said is said and what's done is done, and that's just kind of part of the game.
Okay. So let's look now. We've had that video, and I want to hear from you. Some of you. I want to start with some of the coaches again, and I'm gonna ask you what were your views about what was said just now. Coaches, don't let me start calling you by name. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I am hearing you at least.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
Ian,
we can.
Repeat what you said, Ian.
Okay, so what were your views about what the coach just provided in the video that we just looked at?
I have that individual coach as someone who was barking at every call. However, I admire the temperament of the referee who was trying to, inform him, listen, this is what I did. And the referee was very patient. In the long run, the coach realized that he was the only one barking, and he calmed down. So I give kudos to the referee for not jumping off the handle and responding to him the way he responded. What he simply did is calm him down, explain to him, and continue moving. He did not stay to get in any row with the coach, which was very, very smart referee. That's my observation.
All right. Any other coaches?
Well, from what I see and from what he was saying is like, I mean, you can bark at referees most of the time be on deaf ears, but you have to just sit, do their job and just coach and do your coaching to your players and whatnot. So just sit for what it is. They're going to miss some. You're going to miss most of every call that he makes. You're going to be like, he shouldn't have made that call. He should have let it go, whatever, whether it's right or it's wrong. But at the same time, you just got to continue coaching and just let him do his job. That's what I learned.
Thank you.
If I may, one of the things that I found interesting that he said is that 99, when his coach had him write down how many calls the ref made and how many was right, he said 99 of those calls, 99% of those calls were the right calls. And so I think it's important for us to remember that referees are humans as well. And sometimes we may miss a one or a two call. So that's one of the things that I found interesting about that.
Thank you for that. You know,
I'm gonna make us. Okay.
Go ahead, Coach.
Okay, I'm gonna make a statement here. It might not be popular. I want you to listen to me. We have a lot of coaches who do not study the rules. We know for a fact that most time the referees do. So what the coaches do, right? They cover their faults by trying to put the blame on the referee. It happens a lot. So the coach is not, he knows he's not doing a good job. He look for a particular error that is made by the referee and give the whole team the impression that that referee made an error to cover his faults. And that's what I said yesterday. The coaches and the referee need to get in harmony to make sure it doesn't happen. Coaches hide behind the referee a lot.
Mr. Kendall?
Yeah, yes, Ian. Good night, everyone. I would just like to say, you know, in watching this video, I could definitely be 100% sure that that referee crew pre-game was based on that coach. Because as a referee, our pre-games has to be, an aspect of it has to be about the personality of the coach and how to deal with that particular coach. His coaching style, the way how he conducts himself during the game, and how to be more patient. You know, Coach Voot also pointed out a very interesting point on how patient the referees them were. And that's very important because I know for a fact that the referees knows the coach and the coach knows the referee. So that relationship is based on trust. Because you could have seen the video where the coach was talking about one of the referees them very, very well, you know. So I know in that situation, that coach trusts the referee and vice versa. So that's the relationship that we definitely need when we are doing coaches referee communication.
If there's one thing I would like you to walk away from here tonight, and remember, it is not about us and them. It's about the game of basketball. It's about building a relationship that allows the game to be in a good spirit. Now, if you said to a referee that a call was a foul or a call was an unsportsmanlike foul, whether you said it harsh, pleasant, or indifferent, it does not change your call. So then there's no a need for you as a referee to be aggressive or unprofessional or try to avoid communication with coaches, with players, with your other referees, and with table officials. Just look at it this way. You've got a job, you've got to talk to somebody. If you don't talk to those players or those coaches while the game's going on, in fact, when they want to have a conversation with you, you've got to know when to have that conversation. That's an important thing. But you are going to have some people, human beings, with pent-up anger, and it's going to come out. Okay? You're going to have some people with pent-up anger. So we're going to, someone wants to make a comment, one of the instructors, go ahead.
Ian, this is
hello. Oh, okay.
Ian, this is a coach. This is coach.
Okay.
I'm glad you said what you said about referees having to communicate when the time is right with coaches, because that's the most important thing of how coaches and officials communicate with each other during the game. But there are coaches that may have, at the end of the day, some calls when it comes to the rules are judgment calls based on the judgment of the official. And the coach judgment and the official judgments may be different. That doesn't mean that the call is right or wrong. So the coach may have his own rights for his reasoning to say why he thinks the call should have gone left or right. So at the end of the day, there are rules that the judgment has nothing to do with it. That must stand. And to me, they're the only rules that coaches should argue about. The other rules, they just given their opinion on what they think the call should have been.
Thanks, Coach Mario. Thanks very much for your comment.
No, just one more thing, Ian. I don't want this to make it seem like it's a back and forth, but something that I always quote, and coaches quote all the time, and they always say, "I'm here to defend my players," and I take that very light. I took it very heavily, because the referees are not there to take anything away from the players. And when coaches say that, it's like an unwritten rule. When coaches say that to a referee, about a game, it is very degrading. And we as referees really take the rules and the interpretations very seriously. And yes, we must stay calm at all times. But again, as individuals, it's very, very difficult knowing something and then the next person coming to you that don't know the rules to you.
If you can mute your mic.
Yeah, so you have that next individual coming to you that don't know the rules and questioning your call. And I want to be clear, there's no way in the rules that says coaches must question your call, but it also says in the rules that coaches must come to the referee respectfully. We understand the game is very exciting, and it's exciting for us too as officials. So we get into the game as much as the coaches and players, but it's not seen as much. So we have to make sure that the respect is mutual and it goes both ways. But again, the referees always get calls at the end of the game for being blamed for a particular call. Not coaches, not players, referees.
I'm going to say this.
Hey,
go ahead.
Hey, Ian, can I add something? This is Jillian Martindale from Barbados. In the clip, there was a situation where the coach felt that one of the referees missed a call or made a call. Like, it wasn't clear because they didn't see what it says. And the other official that was coming down the sideline, close to him, he made a remark and said, "Hey, you saw it." And it's moments like that in the game where the support of the refereeing crew must be upheld. It was easy for the referee to make a smart comment about his colleague, but they were both very professional. The way how the referee said to him, okay, I wasn't in a position to see. So that adds some credibility to his partner.
Yes.
Something that you guys must take away from the video. At no point in this video was there any insulting words, any disrespect coming from both parties. Right? And we control that. Right? We as a referees, we control that. The coaches will comment, they will make remarks, but it's up to us to always be professional. That's it.
All right, thank you for that. So
I have a question. You can hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Gray.
Good evening, everybody. How do you bridge the gap? I know, I think it was a coach who looked at it earlier, and I'm speaking from a referee's perspective. How do you bridge the gap between knowledge and ignorance or arrogance?
All right, I'm gonna ask you to hold that question, and by the time we finish this evening, I'm gonna ask you to ask me that question when we finish the presentation this evening. Okay, Mr. Sterling?
I have to flip out, but I'm gonna come back in before you close, okay?
Okay, thanks. All right. So what I want to get here is that it's not us and them. Okay? So you've got to give respect to get respect. You don't demand respect, you earn respect. And it goes both ways. Okay? So let's just push ahead now and let's look at this. We already looked at the 4 ways that I presented last night and that we have available to us as referees to communicate. Now remember, a general rule, so we spoke about voice, whistle, body language, and official rules. So a general rule is that communication is most effective for everyone when the official use a combination of those means of communication that are available to you. Verbal with signals, whistles with signals. So a combination of them need to work together. Now, remember, you're communicating, and when we say participants, all the participants, your fellow referees, table officials, spectators, and coaches, right? Now, understand tonight we're going to look at the importance of being assertive and when to be assertive. We're going to look at different communication styles. We're going to look at listening skills. This is a big part of it. Then we're going to look at how we are going to prevent or manage conflicts. And then we're going to look at conflict resolution. Now, there are going to be times that you need to be assertive in the game, right? And you need to be assertive and take hold of the game when things are getting hot. When a participant is asking a question or questioning the decision that is being made, notice the difference here. It's okay to ask a question about the decision, but when it's done respectfully and not in a demonstrative manner. So you don't want to be, you're not going to accept a referee, coach or player coming to you in a demonstrative way. That is just not right. Okay? So this, so at other times you can use a less assertive and calm approach when the game is being conducted in the good spirit. But like I said, your voice is a toolbox. Your voice, you can use your voice either loud, calm, hard, or even using silence. Do you know when you use silence? When a coach wants to talk to you and he is making a statement, he's not asking you a question, he's making a statement, the best choice of words to use there is silence. Just listen. Because you know what's the important thing? That coach at that point in time may just have wanted to be heard to get something off his or her chest. Coach Mario, Coach Voot, Coach II, if I'm wrong, I want you to call me out.
No, you're correct.
All right. So let's look at this next clip.
He might have gotten the charge because I don't think Jokic could completely avoid it.
No, bigs don't have good break.
And the Nuggets within one, 51-50. We've had 4 ties, 5 lead changes. Biggest lead for the Spurs, 6 for Denver, 4. DeJounte Murray out front with it, had 7 points in his first time on the floor. And a technical foul called on Pop. Benny Adams heard enough. Pop still after it. And he is gone.
All right. Let's look at what happened there. We've got the coach trying to talk to a referee while the game is going on. Did you pick that up? The coach don't know what he said, but it caused him to get the technical. Everything now comes pouring out. So another technical, and that coach is out of here. Now, you as a referee, you've got to also remember that a coach uses a technical. It's one of his tools in his toolbox. You remember we spoke about your view and the coach's view of what happened in a particular play. You may not say eye to eye. So the coach has his view, and you as a referee or referees, you have your views. Now, if the coach feels, look, it's not happening for me, I'm not getting the calls I believe I should be getting, let me use a technical to get some sort of empathy from the referee. Coach Voot, Coach Mario, Coach II, let's hear you popping in on this one.
Okay, I think, Ian, we talk basketball a bit. You know for a fact that a technical foul could be a weapon to a coach. And there are times when you want to get the referee's attention, you willfully take a technical foul, hoping that the referee doesn't realize that is what you're doing, okay? Because that could change the whole thing around. Now that, to me, is a coach's secret, a coach's weapon, when to get a technical foul. In the situation or the scenario I saw recently, Pop was going to really get up in that referee's face and be disrespectful. So I think the other referee did a good job by stopping it before it got further. Because Pop wasn't just looking for a technical, he was looking for a confrontation.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes getting the technical foul isn't really to get the referee's attention. In some cases, sometimes it is to get the ref's attention, but sometimes the way the momentum of the game may be going, you may be calling timeout, speaking to your players, and things just ain't going right. And maybe you just got to do something drastic that will cause a fire some way, somehow, that the players and all get upset to the point where they say, well, the hell with the ref. Like, we have to do what we got to do and win this game. And then all of a sudden the game changes around. So you got to know when to use that technical foul and for which purpose you're using it for when you decide to take it.
Thanks, Coach Mario.
I just was going to speak on the same thing. You know, sometimes
is strategic when you get that technical, so you can get the game to change in a different direction. So everything everybody said is like basically on point.
So for those, thanks very much, coaches. But for those of you referees, you're hearing it here from coaches. You're hearing how they use a technical. All right. So let's go back now to the slide, and we're explaining an infraction using our voice to any person in the game. The tone of your voice is going to be an important tool. You know, I am a Matrix fan, and let's look at what it says. What if I told you, because I said so, does not count as a reason? You know, it's important that if the communication is going before or during the game, throughout the game, things are going to remain calm. They're not going to get to, or let's go back. They're not going to get to 100% in terms of a retaliation, because you're keeping communication open with the coaches, with the players, knowing exactly when to have that communication. So if something is to develop in the game in terms of a fight, it would be unexpected. But if you brush off the coaches, the players, everyone, you're just creating a heated pot that is going to explode if you don't change your attitude as a referee. Point blank. Let's look at this next video.
I don't mind you coming on some things, but it's been every possession, bud. Every possession. I'm pretty good at what I do. Every possession isn't going to cut it. I'm all right. The only thing I got a little frustrated with was that Isaiah was saying something on every play. That's not fair. I mean, I work hard out here, you know, and I've missed some plays. I haven't been perfect. I wasn't overly thrilled with the offensive foul I had with you. I thought you went through his space. I looked at it at half. You didn't really go through his space. So I haven't been perfect, but I'm not wrong every play either. You know what I mean? How you been other than that? Good.
So again, it is not exactly what you say, but how you said it. Because that's
how you see it.
You know, it's not what you have said that someone is going to remember. It is how you said it and how you made them feel. All right? So you're using your voice. It has to be confident and decisive. Verbal communication styles include using a clear voice, appropriately chosen words. And this is how we can get ourselves in trouble. If you know you've made a call and you ain't sure about the call, now is not the time to go and try to explain the call to the coach. You got to know when. And someone sent a message here. That makes a big difference in terms of escalating the situation. You've got to make those choice words, make sure. You've got to do them in a firm manner, but calm manner. And make eye contact with a person. We spoke about the bugs yesterday of communication. Hands in the hip, arms crossed. That's closing communication. So if you want to have this communication, coach says to you, ref, can I have a word with you? It's the appropriate time. Yes. Look him straight in the eye and have the conversation. Do not, please, coach, please, referees, don't have a conversation with a person on the run. You know, when you're having that conversation, but you keep walking, going to where you were going, that's disrespectful. A coach is going to feel disrespected, or any player is going to feel disrespected when you do that. Sufficient strength of voice to convey the message so that what you said, they're able to hear. Because remember now, communication also is not just what you said, but what the receiver actually heard. So let's look at this, being asked a question. And there are times when a player will want an explanation. It's logical, we're human beings. You earn respect when you give respect. Know when is the right time. You keep saying this the entire night. Know when is the right time to answer that question. The worst thing you can do is to tell a coach, I will be back, and they don't see you till the end of the game. It's not important then. You would have lost the opportunity for vital information sharing. I used an example last night where we spoke about two teams having breakfast at the same hotel, and an incident arose as it relates to two players. And we spoke about this is useful information for the referee to have. Who would have that information? The coach. Now, if the coach wanted to have that conversation with you at this point, and you told him you'll get back to him, and you never did, what has happened? You have lost the opportunity to have that information. And should an issue develop between these two players on the court, it comes as a surprise to you.
Shitty.
Hello? Oh, what? It comes as a surprise to you when it should not have been a surprise. Because if you had had the conversation with the coaches, you would have had the information.
May I?
Hello? Go ahead.
Yeah, may I? At the same time, I understand what you're saying, but in my experience, being a young umpire, and referee, they take the opportunity to use these questions to distract you from the game also. Some coaches use that communication, quote unquote, as a tactical way to distract you at key points. I've had the experience while I'm going down the baseline, I have to ask coaches to move. And in coming up, they're asking me, questioning the calls, and my response will be, at the dead ball. Because I can't just stop to talk to them at that point in time. And it becomes an issue or whatever. I have been told that my manner is disrespectful. And I said, no, paying attention to the play, I will talk to you at the dead ball. And we could talk then, or we could talk at the interval. And some coaches have learned to respect it. But in my experience, I just see it as very tactical also. It's very tactical.
Okay, and I hear your view. Let's have a scenario here between you and I. If you came, a game is going on, I am transitioning down the court to get the play. Question one, is this an appropriate time to have a conversation?
No.
Good. So it's definitely not the appropriate time. Here's your response to the coach. Coach, not now. You'll have that chat a little later and keep moving.
Oh, I've tried.
Okay, hold on. just do that and keep going. If it's needed, then you can ignore. Remember now, as soon as the next available dead ball, or if there's a timeout that's coming, Coach, do you still want to talk to me? Coach has a choice. talk to you during that timeout or go and talk to his team. Okay? But what I'm saying, the point I'm getting to you is knowing when to have that conversation. Knowing when is the right time. You as an official, you need to know when is the right time to have that conversation. But remember, opportunities lost for that conversation cannot be regained. So as soon as it is possible, and in the spirit of the game, get back to that coach.
Okay.
Thanks. We're going to look at another clip. And this clip is giving respect to earn respect.
Sixers by 8. Allen Iverson with 21. No foul was called on that, although Iverson felt there should have been. You see him hopping up. He's been talking with the officials quite a bit and had this conversation with you, Evans, a short time ago.
He's right in front of you, man. He's right in front of you, dude. Come on, baby. I ain't trying to show you up nothing, but it's right there. It's right there, man. You feel it?
I didn't say that. I asked you when you finished because you came over very politely and we talked. And if I missed it, I missed it. So you were very polite, you know?
That's what I get all game, huh? If I miss it, I miss it.
The best part of it is it ain't right.
So let me ask some of you referees. What are your views about the communication just now between player and referee?
Hey, Ian. Yeah, that wasn't the right way to communicate to him, because the player came over very politely. He spoke with him, and he technically ignored anything he was saying. He didn't want to communicate anything with him.
All right. Let's use some of the ways we've got available for us to communicate.
Yeah.
Let's look at the body language of the referee.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought he was expecting Silas first. He let him talk, and he didn't really express it. You know, he let him speak his mind, and just let him settle down. And he stopped for, then he continued again. And then that's when he started to speak about why. So it wasn't so much that he was being disrespectful to Allen Iverson.
Ian.
Go ahead, Gilbert.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. This is Gilbert Bagnat from Virgin Islands. Sometimes as referees, we make mistakes. And to improve ourselves, we need to accept that we made a mistake. So after accepting that mistake, we actually develop ourselves, and then we put in the mind that we're not going to do that again, and you're going to look at it. So just by simply accepting that we are wrong, we're already improving ourselves in the future.
Gilbert, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Is there anything wrong with communicating that to the player?
Probably it's the way the referee said it to Iverson. Probably he did not actually vocalize his acceptance that he was wrong. It's the matter of communicating to the player. But he was actually wrong on that point. Iverson, there's nothing wrong with the player. It was the communication from the referee to the player.
Agreed?
Yes. Well said, Gilbert. Well said.
Yes, but I would say something. The referee did not do anything wrong in terms of the play itself, because, like he said, he did not see it. You know, I mean, if you're saying that the referee's wrong, he did not see it, and that is very possible. Sometimes you can be so close to play, you totally miss it. Now, I understand now the way in which you express himself, or followed up. But he wasn't. The referee was not wrong. He did nothing here says the referee made a mistake. I heard someone said that. The referee said he didn't see it. And one thing that I don't do as a referee is go start guessing what I did not see.
Oh.
Okay, this is the thing about that video. Once the player did not accept your explanation, it will actually put him in his mind that you are wrong. You have to express yourself. You have to tell him that you are wrong, and then on the following situation or whatever, you're going to watch it carefully and make the prior call.
Well, if I may, Richardo here from the Bahamas. I wouldn't necessarily come out and say that I am wrong, because his words was that I did not see it. Now, he could continue this communication with him and said, I didn't see it. However, going down, I'll watch it more closely or whatever. But to come out and say that you're wrong, you're admitting guilt for something that you just recently stated that you did not even see. So you can miss something and just simply say, hey, I got you, I didn't see it. When we move again, I'll take a better look at it. My apologies, whatever you want to say to pacify the situation. But at the same time, when the player, I don't totally fault the referee, because some people may say that he was kind of close in this communication. You have to look at, okay, this player just finished jumping and hopping and skipping about the place, giving all of this emotion and energy in his what appears to be discussed in the no call. So, and then coming over to me, you've just basically shown me up. So why, I'm going to be polite with you because you were polite with me, but at the same time, I'm not going to entertain a very long conversation with you after you've just shown that type of disgust or emotion towards a play or a misplay or whatever it was.
All right. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to say this. You always remember these situations. Was he asking a question? No, he was making a statement. When a statement is being made, there's no need for a response from you or for you to defend yourself. In the first instance, he came over, he says, man, you were right there. I'm not trying to show you up or anything, but you were right there. That's a statement. And this is, as a referee, this is what you have to identify. What is a statement and what is a question? No, let's look at it also this way. Yes, I'll tell you that one of the body language scream, don't approach me. If you notice, when he started to engage Mr. Iverson was after he came back the second time and he asked the question. So he's now asking the referee a question and the referee is giving him an answer by engaging him in conversation. And this is what you have got to realize and recognize as a referee.
But I even recognize that Allen Iverson recognized that he made an error in the way he approached the referee the first time. And when the referee explained to him, he calmed down. If we know Allen Iverson well, if that referee did not deal with that situation, he was going to answer back and be very disrespectful. But the referee calmed him down by simply saying, I did not see it. And Allen Iverson then realized, okay, I cannot take this man on because he did not see it. But if he had said he saw that play, it was going to be a big argument.
Right.
Hey, Ian, clear from
Right,
Go ahead, Derek.
I'm not play there. In my opinion, I think the referee would have known that he missed the call on more than one time with Allen Iverson there. But what he did, as he approached him, he knew he was going to come to him and ask him some question, or probably it might have been verbally, whatever the case may be. But the referee knew he was upset, so the ref gave him his space to speak, and then he said to him, "Are you finished?" And Allen walked away and come back again.
Correct. So in other words, he was saying to the referee was saying to the player, just check this out.
call, that he missed the call, and those things happen to us at times, and we got to be true to the players that if you miss the call, you miss the call. That's it.
Thanks, Dexter.
But what if that call
Iverson's last comment was that that's what you have been saying all night. You missed the call. You understand? So he, at the end of when he said he missed the call, Iverson's last comment while she was walking, he said that's what you have been saying all the time. So that means all during the game, he's not getting any calls. And the referee keep on telling him that, you know, I missed the call. So what do you do? As a player, that those things can make the player react. Because for the whole night, you tell me you missed the call, you missed the call. What am I supposed to do?
Exactly, because the next thing you could look at is that if you keep saying, well, oh, I was wrong, I got that wrong, then the player going to say, well, you can't get that right tonight. You don't know what you're doing, you're guessing. So you have to be careful even with saying, I got something wrong.
Yeah, but it don't always be in the situation, you know. Sometimes it don't be in that referee's area. What if that referee wasn't his area to make that call, and Iverson just came over them and feel that was his area to make that call? What you say about that?
That is why I said the referee said I did not see the call. I mean, now we go into judge intent. I mean, the referee said what he said. I did not see the call, and sometimes it happens. I mean, sometimes players come say, "Mr. Ref, how come you missed it?" I said, "I didn't see it. I'm sorry about that. I didn't see it," and that's it. You know, I miss it. Yeah, I don't see everything, and sometimes from my view, I might not be correct.
Okay, so you remember using. Hold a minute. Remember, in your communication, you've got to use choice words. Don't leave words that are going to give what you call ambiguities. So, for example, if you missed it, if it was not your primary area of responsibility or your secondary area of responsibility, say that to the player. Say that to the player. What's wrong with saying that? Does it make you weak? No. You remember, you're not there. Each referee, especially in a 3-man rotation, you've got your primary area of responsibility and you've got your secondary area of responsibility. If you leave ambiguities, if you leave doubt in the player's mind, it's going to become a debate. You do not have time for a debate. It's a conversation. There's no need to defend your actions. If a statement is made, allow the statement to be made. If a question is asked, answer the question directly. Okay? So I love the debate. I love the conversation. But let's go ahead and we'll get some at the end of tonight. All right? So, and now it leaves us, we're going straight into something now that us as referees, we need to do a little more of. And it deals with our listening skills. So the strongest influence on the outcome of all communication is the ability to listen effectively. When the official listens effectively, they can respond appropriately. Listening enables the official to put meaning to what songs that they've heard. Listening is the ability to receive, to attend to interpret, and to respond verbally to a message or to other cues. You know, for example, body language and the way that it's appropriate to the game. First step to listening is to remember to stop talking. The object here is to respect the player. Sorry. The object here is to respect the player and the need to listen and respond, not telling and walking. So you're not brushing away the player. Understand that. You're not brushing away. Just listen. You're there for an entire game. you want information as well, and how you're going to get that information is by listening. If you do all the talking, if you have all the answers, then it means you have all the information. And that's not what's happening in the game. You've got too many different factors. There are 3 referees, there are 10 players on the court at one time. Okay? There are table officials and there are spectators. Tell me who's got to do the listening. The majority of the listening. The referees. Because they've got information that you need to keep your game calm. So effective listening includes hearing, interpreting, assessing, and you see what's last? Responding last. You can't respond first and hear. You can't respond and not interpret. You can't respond and not assess. So it's hearing, interpreting, assessing, and then a response. In your listening skills, you want to anticipate where the coach or player is going with this conversation. So mentally, you're going to summarize in your mind what you said. So before you actually say anything, you're going to formulate a response. And in formulating that response, you've got to use choice words. Look at the body language of who you're communicating with. What is that body language telling you? It can tell you if they're upset, if they are really, really upset, if they really want to communicate with you. And also the use of silence. We spoke about that in the last video. Iverson was making a statement and the referee chose to remain silent because it might be appropriate at that time. So in your listening skills, you're gonna wanna avoid the annoying habits such as disagreeing or interrupting. Invasion of personal space. If you remember the number 2 slide showed the referee putting his hand on the mouth of the coach. You don't ever do that. Don't invade a person's personal space. Don't have a conversation with other players at the same time or have your eyes wandering all over the place. Let the person that you're having this conversation with know that you're listening. Make eye contact. And there's a thing such as overdoing the acknowledgement. So you know you want to show that you're listening, but you're overdoing it. Yeah. Shaking your head all the time? No. Don't overdo the acknowledgement. Right? Showing off personal knowledge of the rules. That's not a time for you to show that you know every single rule. Okay? So the listening skills, avoid saying anything at that time or interrupting. Just let them speak. So we're going in now. Once you start to listen to what's happening now, and you've got in tune to what's happening, then comes now the area of managing conflict. So officiating in an environment can be challenging and potentially hostile. Dealing with conflict can be tough for even a confident official, let alone an inexperienced one. I don't know about you, but one of the hardest things I find is right now is encouraging young people to want to officiate. And you know what? Sometimes coaches, sometimes referees themselves can cause If you allow the game to get out of hand and accept that you're going to allow the coaches to bark at you, the players to bark at you, you think that a young referee or a young person is going to be encouraged by this? Come on, we've both got to grow together. So if you see that happening, having a discussion with the coach as to how he or she behaved, you know, you walk over and you say, Coach, understand you're frustrated, but can we have a conversation? You're making my job tough. Let's allow this game to end in the spirit of the game. How you feel walking away from that conversation can then escalate. Share with me, anybody, if you feel that it can escalate from just from saying that.
Yeah, this is Teron Francis here from Grenada.
Go ahead, Mr. Teron.
I think communication is a very tricky thing, and I know you're doing a short session on it, but it is very, very easy to escalate a situation. And as you say, knowing the right time to say something will make a huge difference. So if you see that emotions running really high and you as a referee could see, well, probably now is not the right time to approach that coach, it will make a big difference. It could be the same words you're saying to them. It could be the same exact thing you're saying, but just the matter of the time you do it could make a huge difference in terms of escalating or de-escalating a situation in a game.
Thank you. You know what? When it comes to managing conflicts, there are tools that are available. If you don't use preventative officiating early on in the game, your conflict has already taken off. You know, just smile, be professional. Smiling with a coach or a player does not change your call. You made a call, it does not change your call if you're respectful. If you're harsh and rash and irrational, it does not change the call. But your behavior and your ability to either close or open communication can be damaged from the latter, but it does not change the call that you have made. If you look at managing conflict, conflict is likely to arise from a number of situations, and they can include disagreement from participants over a decision. We spoke about perceived bias shown by officials in the eyes of coaches and players. Remember this, coaches will always have their view, and the view and perspective of each person according to where he or she is on the court will be different. Okay? So the perceived bias of an official in the eyes of the player or coaches, what can you do? The photo here shows a game in the Philippines with Australia and the Philippines. And so a lot of you are aware of this game. We're gonna probably look at it a little later on. But this is another way of managing conflicts, and this is how conflicts arise. Frustration shown by participants as a result of their level of performance or the game result. A misunderstanding of instructions or rules from an official. And this is one of the big ones. Trash talking between participants. Can you mute your mic, please? Trash talking between participants. Let's look at how we can end trash talking very early.
Players are there to compete to get a win.
Hey guys, hey, I love a good dunk as much as everybody else. Make sure you don't taunt one another, okay? Thank you.
Comment. How simple was that? You don't wait till something like that escalate. The trash talking, stop it early. Talk to the players. Talk to the coaches. Get the coaches to help you. Coach, the trash talking, let's keep it out of the game, please. Because, you know, someone sent a message here, prevention always the safe way to go. Prevention, you're preventing it from, and look at the statement that appears here. 1 ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So prevention in managing these conflicts, prevention is better than the cure. If the action taken early in the game, conflict is less likely to occur. Make competitors aware of your presence, reacting immediately to rule infringements when appropriate. But in all of this, you've got to remain objective. You've got to be objective-minded, no matter what the prior knowledge of the participants. And this is where we as officials, if you know you've got a history of a player in a game before, you cannot use that as your tool, as if you're going to, how you're going to communicate to that player, or if you choose to communicate with that player. Remember, in another training session, we spoke about looking at the action and not the intent. You can't go back and use previous games to judge a person in this game. You got to judge what is happening now in this game. So let's look at when the game now, you've lost control of the game.
Twelve three-point connections for Australia.
31 na lamang. Agoy goes to June Mar. Di makatira doon si Ton Baker. And there's something going on right now. Andre Blatz, there's a free-for-all going on. Calvin Abueva, everyone coming off the bench.
And Thon Maker.
Here they go on. Calvin Abueva, everyone coming off the bench.
And Thon Maker.
Here they go.
Calvin Abueva on the floor. And Thon Maker. Oh, look at
Brian Cruz going after Kicker. Right at our tables. This is security has stepped in. Assistant coaches and team officials. Nakagulo na talaga. And still going on the side. Someone's on the floor.
This is something we don't want.
All right, so you've got the gist of what happened there. But let me give you a history just in case you don't know. Before the start of this game, in the practice session the previous day, when Australia was at the facility practicing, they believed that the decals on the floor were slippery. So you know what they did? They pulled up the decals. Decals on the court, they're marketing. They're the person, a basketball game is not put on for free at an international level. Federations and associations need money to run the tournaments or to put on the games, to host the games. So they're going to have different people investing. And the decals on the court is one way of marketing. Okay? The pre-game warm-up, you had players bumping each other from opposite teams, and nothing was said, or no referee said anything to intervene. So you had rough play going on from the beginning of the game. And if you look at where we are now, what period of the game are we in? Third period with 4 minutes. Let's call it 4 minutes to go. And what has happened? You've lost control. With what I've said to you about the prehistory of the game, do you feel now that this incident just all of a sudden occurred?
Actually, no, because it seemed as though they had some bad blood from before.
If I may chime in here, Ian, what I would have observed is before the game, the rule clearly states that all three of the referees on the floor are supposed to be monitoring the teams while they're preparing, while they're on the floor, doing the usual layups and so forth, whatever the case may be. And it's our job to keep our eyes on them and to maintain and let them know that we're there to officiate the game from jump start. And I guess probably in this situation, they didn't look at it that way. They didn't see anything happen during they didn't look and see what happened in game one and so forth. And it escalated into the game, and that's what happened. But like you said, it's very important to do a game assessment before the game, even though, because like you said, the two teams that have met prior before the game in the same restaurant or the same hotel, they were eating the same day, and they had a little misunderstanding there. So from then, I think the officials should have taken it into hand from since then and get the act together for this previous game.
And how important you think communication between players and referees and coaches, and referees and table officials, and in particular, referee and the game.
Me dey on one video call now with
Yes, Ian, just to comment on that a little bit, it's very important, the point that you just make, and also on the international level, what we do now that really helps us in managing the game is going and scouting the teams that you're going to referee maybe the next night or maybe the night in the next 5 days. And that's very important now in this new age of refereeing, not just coaches going to scout opponents, referees as well go to games, maybe watch a quarter, maybe watch the entire game, because we need to learn players' attitude, who's the aggressor, and even for play calling, it's important for us to go and scout players because we have to know who these players are.
Thanks, Kendall. Any other views?
Yes. Also, to add to that, you have to prepare for the games mentally, physically, psychologically. Referees, you have to prepare for the games. You have to refresh yourself with the rules, and also you have to visualize situations like these in the game. So it's like expecting the unexpected. No one expect this in the game at this point of the game, and it didn't just start. It had to be probably missed calls, miscommunication with the referees to tighten up situations, but you have to prepare for the games.
So
Ian,
go ahead.
Ian, it's Gilbert again.
Go ahead, Gilbert.
You two told us that how important is communication is to the coaches, to the players. Well, what can I say is communication, if you make a lack communication to the players or to the coach, your coach can be your good friend.
Greatest ally.
Or he can be your enemy if you make a bad communication with them. That's what happened in this video clip.
So
lack of communication.
I agree with you on that, Gilbert. Lack of communication. Any other comments?
Abdul Rashad here from Jamaica.
Yes, Mr. Rashad, go ahead.
Looking at the clip, I saw one distinct thing in that there was a clash there and no call was made. And I think FIBA has moved away from that now, where there is a clash, then there must be a call. And I think if there was a call there, then it would not have escalated into what it did. And the referees have to be mindful of the situations as it relates to the teams and all the history that the teams have. Also, we were looking at a clip. A few days ago where a player was ejected for a friendly banter with Vince Carter. These are things that we in the history and in the lead up to the game when we're having our discussion before the game. These are things that we need to go through as referees, because one referee might know the history of the team, and this needs to be communicated to the other referees in order for the game itself to progress in a seamless manner.
Thank you. So in all the suggestions put forward, what I see pushing out is the lack of communication, either among yourselves as referees, communication with the players in terms of preventative officiating, or having a full presence, cut it out, or making those being assertive at that point in time, or communication with your coaches. They've got the power that if there is a fight on the court, the rules make the provisions that the coaches can come onto the court to get their players.
Another scenario that could happen there, right? Is that as we look back at the Iverson comment.
Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, another scenario that could happen from in that clip there, it could be maybe some similar like what Iverson comment, that you keep on saying you're not seeing the call, and maybe at that part in that game there, one guy just gets frustrated because a lot of missed calls. He feels that could be another scenario. I mean, we're looking at all the scenarios you're saying about for hotel, different things, but that could be another, that it can happen in a game like that.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a suggestion for the referees here now. Let's take a look at the scores. One team has almost been embarrassed by the other. And I think the team that's below by 29 points is the home team. Do referees get together in a situation like that and discuss, listen, something can happen here because embarrassment is taking place. We have to have some preventative refereeing because the team that is below obviously are on edge because of that level of embarrassment, especially if they're the home team. Right? Both teams could be on edge. Right? How do we deal with that? Is that something that you deal with, taking this cause into consideration?
You've got to look for, and Coach Vogt, I hear what you're saying, but you've got to look holistically at the entire night. So you can't just use what's happening here now. We've arrived here to score. But we know that from the beginning of the game, there has been the throwing of elbows. They've been the bumping each other at pre-game warm-up, the removal of the decals the day before. You've got to look holistically at what, and in your pre-game, you should be communicating with each other. What should we be looking out here for?
And I agree with that. And I agree with that. But you have to take into consideration also this cause. A home team is being embarrassed here. So I think as referees, I'm just asking here, that is something we have to pay attention to, because the team that is being embarrassed, obviously they're on edge.
Hey,
Yeah,
let me jump in for
sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
There's a lot that went into this game that most of you may not have. This was a case study we actually discussed as technical delegates as a recertification process. So first, I'll attempt to answer Coach Voot's question. It's not primarily the referee's responsibility to not allow another team to be embarrassed. That is called good sportsmanship. So that's something that the coach should have either pulled back or hold back. But it's not the referee's job to either slow the pace or tone of a game because a team is being embarrassed. The referee is there to manage the game and not manage, everyone else. Some of the context of this particular situation here was, I think there was a lack of communication between the technical delegate and the referees, because the referees were not privy to the whole sticker situation. And then also during the warm-ups of this game, there was a little cross-talking between teams. And I think they had to, some separation had to happen between the halves. Each of you have your own halves, your warm-ups. So, the Philippines team were crossing over into Australia and back and forth. So some of that tension kind of built up there that led into this game. But Ian, what I would like you to also speak a little bit more on this particular situation is what happened at the end of the game and what happened with the referees due to the poor management of this game.
So, all right, and go ahead.
1 second, Ian, because I really agree on what Coach Voot is saying, because as a referee in the game, and I understand what Patrick is saying as well, but some of the responsibility still lies with the referee at the end of the day. Because if you are refereeing a game and you see commotion happen at the pre-game, before the actually game clock has started, your job is now to manage the game properly. And yes, I understand about sportsmanship and not the referee responsibility to say, coach, don't press, coach, don't run up the score, coach, don't do this, don't do that. But I as a referee in that particular game will definitely have more than one eye out on individuals that I see that are troublemakers. Because in that particular game, you had more than one instance that people was making trouble. Like the young man said from Jamaica, they had a play that they had a clash, bam, bam, 2 players on the ground, no call. All of these things lead up to what happened at the end of the game. So the referees, you as a referee, and you refereeing a high intense game, a physical game, you have to clean it up. That's one of your responsibility, to clean up the game.
Thank you very much, Kendall. Any other comments? Okay, so I'm going to go on and answer Patrick's question relative to what was the outcome. The 3 referees were banned from international competition, so the FIBA license was suspended for a period of time. I believe it was something like 3 years. And then you had a number of players who were ejected out of the game. So the Philippines Basketball Federation was fined very heavily. They were sanctioned very heavily, and I believe this game ended, and the replay of the game actually was a close game. So in other words, the return game was not open to members of the public, just the two teams. So because of who do you see now came out at the very, why we call the bad end of the stick, the three referees.
Thank you. So it's as a referee's job, it's not just you do your job and walk away. There's implications when a report is filed against you.
Mm-hmm.
Suspended, or your license can be revoked, either for a period of time or indefinitely or permanently. So it is not just you are there to determine the outcome of the game. You're there to officiate the game.
All right, thank you.
I'm here again, Ian. I'm kind of surprised that you're saying that the game was played over, because according to FIBA rules, if you go back and you're using the replay, you would see both teams would have left the bench, the players, and they're supposed to be ejected. And whosoever did not take the floor, they should be on the floor on either side to finish the game. So I'm kind of surprised here that the game was actually played over. Could you please fill me in on some more?
Okay. This game, a number of players from either side were ejected, and I believe if you watch the game, the Philippines ended up with something looking like 3 players to end the game, and I think it was 9 players from Australia to conclude the game. Now, the new competition format is home and away. So I'm not talking about this particular game. I'm talking about the return leg of the format was played behind closed doors. So one game would have played in the Philippines, and the other game would have played in Australia.
Okay. But apart from that, Ian, could you say what happened to the end of this game, if it actually continued, or?
Yes, the game continued. The game continued. As I said, a number of people were ejected from either side. I see Mr. Tony here saying that the game continued with 5 versus 3.
Yeah, that's right. Philippines had 3 players at the end and continued, and Australia had about 8 or 9. And the game actually played out to the end.
All right. What I don't want you to miss, the whole point of this video is to show you that your lack of communication with players, with coaches, with table officials can result in your game management becoming out of control. And you're not bringing the game to a happy conclusion with the spirit and intent of the rules. So in managing conflict and in the preventative stage, right, be firm with your decisions and your communication. Look sharp and act sharp. This will gain the respect of yourself as an official. And don't take criticism personally. Remember that the coaches, the players, the table officials, they're seeing the game from a different perspective than you, the official. They're not in the actual spot where you are. As fans, when fans sit in the benches, on the bleachers, and the stands, they look at the game from their perspective. So what's stopping the coaches from looking at it at their perspective as well? But as an official, the three of you have the pictures, the beginning, the continuation, and the end of that play. That is what concludes, that is what makes or helps you to make that decision. You can emphasize, you can be empathetic to what's happening. It still doesn't change the call that you have to make, but you can be understanding. At the beginning of the game, provide structure and guidance. Also start a dialogue with all participants. We're talking about coaches, players, table officials. Acknowledge the abilities and experience of those participants. Invite constructive viewpoints. There's nothing wrong to inviting the constructive. Don't take it personally, right? What you need to do is speak clearly and firmly in a heated situation, right? This will indicate your confidence to manage the situation, but you've got to stay cool. If it starts to get heated, there's no need for you to get heated, because if they get heated and you get heated, it's going to escalate rather than de-escalate. If you remain calm, and you may be able to allow the coach to burn off some energy without being disrespectful or without being too dramatic. Sometimes he just wants to get it off his chest to vent. Allow it within the spirit of the game. So now it comes to dealing with the resolution of those conflicts. So you've got to be professional, right? So speak clearly and stay composed in heated situations. This will demonstrate your confidence in managing it. You've got to remain calm. Like I said just now, you can't also join in being upset, because the game is gonna escalate. The conflict will escalate rather than de-escalate. Address the problems, not the emotions. So you've got to see past the emotions and address what is going on, what is actually happening. You've got to also to be fair. So be objective-minded, be neutral also, and watch your body language. Your body language will say a lot. Be confident and open, but be firm. And remember that 90% of conflicts occur not because of what is said, but the tone and manner in which it was said. And with that, I will end the presentation and open the floor for any comments, any questions that you have.
Hi, on Dexter again. I just want to thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. It was very informative, especially to me, in terms of game management and, keeping it cool as a referee, because, it could be very tough out there at times. I'm not going to lie to any referee out there. It's gonna be tough sometimes, because, we in the Caribbean here, we work and then we go to games. So it's not like a paid job for us that we home all day, that we could just relax, whatever the case may be. But apart from that, I want to thank you for all the good words of encouragement and the education more on being a referee and communicating and everything and controlling the game. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you. Any questions?
Right. Urshad here again. Sir Ian. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Earlier on in the session, you said we should at times know when to listen to coaches and when to respond. But there are some coaches that utilizes the fact that referees tend to listen to them as a means of trying to waste time. A lot of them have perfected this art, and sometimes the only way to deal with it is, and they say it's disrespectful, but to ignore them. And even though some persons might see it as disrespect, the history of the coach also will also be borne out to the referee. So if the referee at every juncture, if the referee maintains that level of respect with certain coaches, then that coach is definitely going to use that as a means of getting an advantage. So the communication itself carries history likewise. And even though we have to deal with each situation, each on its own merit, the history of the individual, we have to bear that in mind when we're planning on communicating with these coaches.
All right, and I agree with you there. But this is something else that you, and you can try it and see if it works. Remember, at every dead ball, where does the power lie to restart the game? With the referees, correct?
With the referees, yeah.
Good.
Correct.
In between stoppages like that, if you restart the game quickly and keep the game going, you can be fine. If a coach wants to talk to you and the game is going to restart now, remember what I said. It might not be the appropriate time to have that conversation, but as soon as the time arises. So let's, like I said earlier also, if during the stoppage of a game, a brief stoppage, it is not the time to have that conversation. If the coach decides that he's going to call a timeout and he wants to have a conversation with you for that timeout, that's his right, that's his privilege. All I'm saying is be open to communication. Don't make it us against them. You want to open communication so that the game can run smoothly and as smoothly as possible. That's all I was trying to get across.
Good night, Sir Ian. Heels here.
Yes, Nick, go ahead.
You know, I was just about to touch on that point, that what you're making reference to is that communication is the key. And that's the ultimate goal. Communication from start to finish. And that's basically it. That's just my point of view, or just how I see it. Because the key point is communication, communication, communication. The more you communicate, the easier the job is, or easier the job becomes.
Correct.
Good night.
Go, Mr. Cedric.
Question.
Go ahead.
When is it? At what time it's okay for a coach to go on the court to speak to the referee? Because I have seen a lot of time there in a timeout that coaches, they just walk onto the court and go to the referee. Is that okay, or the ref should give them permission to come?
The court is yours. There's a coach's box. But if the referee believes that you as a ref, if the court, believe that you as a referee, they wanting to talk to you and you're avoiding them, this is one of the occasions that they would want to use that technical. Coach Mario, Coach Vu, Coach Ayai, am I correct? If I'm wrong, please tell me.
You are correct. And there's a box. I would never really walk on the court, because that being a referee at some point too, and you walk out on the court, I would, warn you and let you know the next time you do it, you may get a technical. You know what I'm saying? But there's a box. You ask to speak to the referee, and hopefully they will come and, like you said, and listen and be professional in their job. So
all right, thanks.
Mr. Brown, sir.
Okay, Mr. David, good night, Mr.
Go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Bryan, go ahead, sir.
What about during the game that we have a situation that we see a incident is going to happen, and you want to call? Is it okay for you to call the coaches together to talk to prevent an incident to happen if you've seen it's happening in the game?
That is preventative officiating. If you see something is happening, it's called having a feel of the game. If you see something is brewing between the two teams, who are your best allies to squash it? The two coaches.
Okay. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we had a great discussion and dialogue today with a lot of content for you to ingest and digest. We're now over almost 20 minutes over our time, but it was a good learning exercise. I certainly learned a couple of things, not from not being a referee, but still there's always a learning opportunity for all. I would like to thank the presenters for tonight, and we will be getting all of the videos, the recordings, and links posted tonight, and this will be communicated to you via email or another communication medium. I would urge and encourage everyone to review the content specific to the rules that was discussed over the past 8 days, specifically on charge, traveling, and unsportsmanlike foul. So those are some of the key questions. It's 25 questions, and it's a combination of. I don't think it's from a test pool bank, so I don't think everyone will have the same question. So it's a way to keep everyone honest. But again, thank you for your participation, your contribution, and your vocals has been invaluable for some of the new and existing referees. With that saying, I would like to thank you again. Mr. Brown, if you have any closing remarks you'd like to say.
Indeed, we certainly want to thank everybody for participating in this first module. You've covered all the areas already, Patrick, the instructors, and also the wider audience who was very interactive straight through these last 8 days. We're looking to do the exam on the 19th of June, just 25 questions. And then we go back into module number 2 on the 25th of June. So thank you once again. And we're looking forward to all of you participating in the examination portion of it on the 19th. Same time, same place. Thank you.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.